A family of ladybugs raises their first litter in the French valleys till the time comes for them to be on their own. Cox, the youngest of the litter, is frequently tormented by the immature Tefet and a swarm of flies. Cox tries to fly back to his family during one of these conflicts, but they chase him, and he lands in a crack and loses a wing. Cox seeks refuge in a tin that was part of an abandoned picnic after being unable to fly or find his family. Cox awakens the following morning to find that bugs have invaded the picnic and taken the goodies. Black ants on a scouting patrol discover the picnic and start carrying the tin with Cox still inside. After he saves them from a reptile while traveling to their anthill, they grant him permission to join them. Cox makes friends with Mandible, the black ant leader, while traveling. The tyrant Butor, together with a patrol of red ants, attempt to thwart the ants' path to nourishment. The red ants follow the black ants to retrieve the remaining sugar, even though the black ants attempt to offer them a sugar cube as a peace gift. The red ants follow the black ants in a coke and as they ride the tin down an embankment and into a river. Cox slips overboard at the rapids, but the ants save him from a pike by the name of Boboche. The soda can and Boboche descend to the bottom of the river as they pass a waterfall and the tin washes ashore. Boboche becomes trapped in the sand and suffocates to death while the red ants manage to flee. The sugar cubes are picked up by the black ants, who then begin to carry them back to their colony. Butor and his patrol discover the tin is empty and keep following them. Butor follows the black ants to their anthill and returns to his colony to report to his queen and obtain reinforcements, but his troops escape to avoid being struck by a car. His patrol, meanwhile, heads back home to rejoin his forces. Cox encounters another ladybug family and makes an attempt to join them on their journey to the black ants' domain. He chooses to stay with the ants as his new family after falling in love with one of the females despite the fact that he is unable to fly. When they finally reach the territory, Mandible extends an invitation for him to become a member of the colony, and they give the sugar cubes to their queen. Even though he has somewhat regained his strength, Cox is still unable to fly in his fantasy of taking off with his girlfriend and both of his families at midnight. The red ant colony, Butor and his patrol, and the queen besiege the black ant nest early the following morning. Now that he can fly again, Cox remembers that there was a matchbox at the picnic and sneaks into the forest to get it when the black ants use their last match to light a firework to ward off the red ants. Cox finds the matchbox at the picnic area, but before he can fly back with it, a black spider steals it and takes it to its dollhouse residence. Cox follows him inside the home, where Jean-Paul the frog makes an attempt to devour them. When the two fight back, the house falls on Jean-Paul, who appears to be murdered. Cox convinces the spider to give him the matches after they develop a bond, and the two of them head back to the nest. Along the way, he protects his lover, who has grown up and broken away from her family, from Tefet's group, who kills them after a car hits them during a chase. When Cox gets back to the besieged fortress, the black ants use the matches to light up their supply of pyrotechnics to retaliate against the red ants. Butor vows retaliation after the explosions cause a blaze in the forest, driving the red ant colony away. Cox and the black ant colony are spared when a fire and rescue plane patrol arrives and puts out the wildfire, but in the process, the nest is flattened. Following the incident, Cox returns to the meadow with his partner to raise their new family while the colony starts to rebuild. When they return to the freshly reconstructed ant nest a few years later, Cox and his old pal enjoy the dusk together. The ant that was storing the tools needed to beat the red ants succeeds in finishing a sliding puzzle with numbers during a scene during the credits.